Yo, welcome to Minecraft YouTube. Today, we're going to be jumping into the Lost Origin meta a little bit and talking about tech, specifically the tech that I think is on everyone's mind, in the back of your mind, in the front of your mind. Maybe you play 5 or 6 of them in your deck. Of course, you don't because there's only 4. But the Empoleon V, the card that I don't know about you, but I definitely, when this card came out, said this is unplayable trash, and it's kind of continued to be pretty unplayable. I know it saw some playing ADP for a while and people were afraid of Blounds, which I think was incorrect the entire time, but I will also say my Blounds lost to ADPs with this in it at a variety of times, but now it's suddenly becoming a pretty good card. So the question for Peoria, Salt Lake City, etc. is, do you play an Empoleon V? Why not? So I'm going to pose 4 questions to you, and these 4 questions are what you should answer before the event to decide if you should play an Empoleon V or not. The very first question is going to be a very simple, do you actually expect the engines that it shuts off? So the card is here for Comfey being far and away the #1 reason to play the Empoleon V. It shuts off, remember, non-rule box. I think people have figured it out by now, but every once in a while there's someone who's like, oh, Greninja, Radiant Charizard. It does not shut off those. Those have rule boxes. Radiant Pokemon have rule boxes. Rule box does not mean multi-prizer. It means there's a rule box on it. It's literally what it's called, right? But Comfey, it shuts off Comfey. It shuts off the Cramorant too, but I mean, you're shutting off the Comfey, which is a bigger deal than shutting off the Cram technically, although the Cram does matter, of course. So you're shutting off that. You're shutting off the Regigigas, and to a lesser extent, you're shutting off Mew. Maybe you do expect Mew. Maybe you're watching this video in a couple weeks and suddenly the Mew engine is broken. I don't know. The meta changes a lot, right? But do you expect these engines? If you don't expect them for whatever tournament, whether it's a local, a regional, whatever, then you don't play it. Why would you play a card if you're not expecting to hit the things that it's actually there for? So that's the first and foremost question. It's flowchart. Answer yes. Let's move to the next one. Do you even need it for the matchup? This is important, and this is one that I think a lot of people don't do. They answer yes to #1. They shove it in the deck. Have you played the matchup without the Empoleon? I don't mean a couple times. I don't mean randomly on ladder. Have you actually grinded, 5-10 games of the matchup without the Empoleon to see if you need it? If you're still winning consistently without it, why would you tech for it? You're now just wasting a deck slot that could be another consistency card. It could be a tech for another matchup. It could be a variety of things. So test the matchup. Do you have other techs that you can use? Jammer for Regigigas. Is that enough? Do you already play Jammer? You don't need the Penguin if a Tool Jammer already lets your Palkia beat Regigigas. Roxanne. Maybe you can just beat the deck because you already play a Roxanne, and that will body them just enough to give you those couple of turns. So again, before you play the Empoleon, try the matchup without it. And then if you lose that, then you put it in the deck. Don't say like, oh, I'm only winning like 70% of the time, I want to make that 100. That is incredibly greedy. If you're winning 60-70% of the time, do not tech for the matchup unless you expect to hit it like 7 times throughout the day. My #3, is it splashable? This one's kind of obvious. I think most people get this idea, but are you actually going to get use out of the Empoleon? If you're playing a water deck, Kyurem, Palkia, or something that runs Melanie, or you could be running a Mirage Gate, play it in Lost Zone for Mir if you're already running the Radiant Greninja. I guess there's no Melanie for that, but you get the idea. If you're running water energies, is it already splashable? If the answer is yes, cool. If the answer is no, why do you think this is a good tech? It does not auto-win any matchup. Even Regigigas can manually attach 3 times, play an escape rope, play a boss, play a Path of the Peak. Ooh, we forgot to even mention that one. If you're expecting Path in these decks, is it even a good tech at that point? But anyway, is it splashable in your deck? Can you add it to your deck without hurting consistency? Can you use it properly? So like I said, starting it doesn't win any matchup unless you can utilize it nicely and you have a game plan after you have started it. No matter what the Comfey engine is, if you start it and you don't attack with it till like turn 5, they're gonna find a way to play the game. So is it splashable? Can you actually use it properly? That is the important thing to ask yourself next. Like I said, I think most of us know that. And the last one, I think one that a lot of people really underrate. Like I said, this is one people tech for matchups they don't need to tech for all the time. This last one is one that I think is specific to Empoleon. Can you even utilize it properly? Okay, cool. You put it in Palkia. can you get it into the active spot on your first turn of the game? If you give the Lost Zone engine a single turn to do the thing, is that even using it properly? Do you play enough switches? Do you play enough Pokemon search cards to get the thing out early? Or another way that you can utilize the Empoleon is late. Go Roxanne, Empoleon in the active. Can you actually do that? Do you play the Roxanne? Do you play a way to set up a board state that is actually going to be able to take advantage of this combo? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. Playing it in your deck doesn't do anything if you can't find it and get it in the active spot on that first turn. Maybe second turn. It's a little sketchy. I've played enough Lost Zone. God, the Empoleon just feels really bad for my opponent. Great for me as a Lost Zone player, but really bad for my opponent if they don't get in the active on turn 1 or they don't pull off the Roxanne plus Empoleon play later in the game. These are the 4 things I think you need to ask yourself before Peoria, Salt Lake City, etc. You're like, I'm going to play Empoleon to beat the Lost Zone decks. Ask yourself these 4 questions. If you answer yes to all of them, heck yeah, play that freaking thing. But if you answer no to any of them, maybe you don't want to. This one, here's a spoiler on my opinion. Can you expect these engines? Yes. I would expect a lot of Comfey engine, more than 0 Regigigas, probably not a lot of Mew, but like I said, if you're watching this several weeks after, maybe you're going to see a lot of Mew. Do you even need it for the matchup? This one is really dependent. I don't think Palkia needs it for a lot of the Lost Zone matchups, but it's not terrible. Kyurem, on the other hand, Kyurem does not like single prizers. I think Kyurem probably does need it for the matchups. If you're going to play some Kyurem, other stuff out there that exists, you play an Arc Intel because you have Melanie. You can play it in other Lost Zone boxes, but I think there's better techs out there for both of those to already beat those matchups. Is it splashable? That's kind of an obvious. Can it fit in your deck? And can you utilize it properly? There's another reason I don't think Palkia is the best spot for it. It's so hard to get in the active spot on turn 1. But again, if you can do it, you need it. Throw it in there for sure. This is just my opinion. I've played maybe a dozen games of Palkia in this format, so not that many to be honest. But hopefully you like this. Hopefully, let me know in the comment section if you enjoy this type of like, should you tech type thing, kind of run through this flow chart. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask. But in the end, trust your testing, trust your judgment. You're the one playing the deck. If you feel more confident with your Empoleon, sure. But try and play it only if it's correct to play it. It might win you games to play it. It might lose you games to play it. So you really have to evaluate whether it is worth it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all the other YouTube stuff, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out.